Tuesday, August 19th in Salem. The storm of Monday spills into a new day, but the tension only grows sharper. Families wrestle with fragile bonds, lovers walk a dangerous line between comfort and temptation, and in the courtroom, the stakes rise higher than ever before. This is a day when friendships will be tested, truths will be twisted, and one devastating revelation will finally explode into the open. A day when masks crack, when love collides with betrayal, and when the true shooter is finally unmasked. Let's unravel the chaos awaiting us in days of our lives. The episode opens not with the thunder of gavels in the courtroom, but with the quiet hum of the Horton living room, a space that has witnessed generations of Salem's triumphs and tragedies. The morning light streams through the curtains, soft and golden, yet the mood is anything but peaceful. Marlena Evans sits perched on the couch, her hands wrapped tightly around a cup of coffee that has long since cooled. Across from her, Julie Williams mirrors the same posture, two matriarchs of Salem, bound by experience, resilience, and the scars of too many battles fought in the name of family. Their voices are low, tinged with the weight of unspoken fears. For Marlena, the strain of EJ's trial is relentless. She confesses to Julie that she feels pulled in two directions. As a psychiatrist, her duty is to remain objective, to guide those around her toward truth and healing. But as a surrogate mother figure, she feels an almost primal need to protect Rachel Black, a child who may soon bear the unbearable truth of being tied to EJ's shooting. Marlena's heart aches at the thought. How can a little girl carry a burden so heavy without breaking? Julie listens intently, nodding, her own eyes clouded with memories of the Horton family's endless battles. She admits that she, too, feels the crushing weight of her family legacy. Betrayals, fractured bonds, heartbreak, each has chipped away at the stability she once believed the Hortons would always stand for. Sometimes, Julie murmurs, her voice heavy with emotion, "I wonder if the foundation our families were built on can survive another blow." The clinking of coffee cups against saucers punctuates their silence. For a brief moment, the two women simply sit together, their shared presence an anchor in a world unraveling around them. Their conversation is more than just reminiscing. It's about survival. About two women who have stood through decades of storms realizing that, this time, their wisdom may not be enough to hold the walls from caving in. And as the camera lingers on their faces, lined with years of love and loss, one truth becomes undeniable. Even Salem's strongest pillars cannot stop the storm that's racing toward them. Across town, the mood shifts, from quiet reflection to a simmering tension charged with temptation. Chad DiMera finds himself in the company of Kat once more, their conversations flowing with an ease that catches him off guard. At first, it feels innocent enough, two people finding comfort in each other's presence. They talk of family, of pressure, of the uncertainty weighing on Salem. Kat listens with patience, offering understanding without judgment. But beneath the surface, something more dangerous brews. Their laughter lingers too long, their silences stretch into unspoken thoughts, and their glances begin to hold more weight than words. Kat's hand brushes Chad's arm, a fleeting touch, yet enough to send a jolt through him. He pulls back, only to find himself drawn in again moments later. For Chad, the ghosts of the past are never far. The memory of Abigail still defines him, shaping every choice, every hesitation. He tells himself he isn't ready, that moving on would dishonor the love he lost. And yet, Kat's presence feels different. She represents not a replacement, but a possibility, a reminder that his heart is still capable of beating, of feeling, of wanting more. The chemistry between them grows undeniable. Every shared smile, every accidental touch, every pause filled with charged silence threatens to blur the line between friendship and something more. But Chad knows the danger. Opening himself to Kat means opening the scars he's tried to keep sealed. And if Salem were to see them together, what judgment would fall on him? What ripple effects could their closeness have on a family already stretched thin by conflict and grief? The question hangs heavy in the air. Is Kat the beginning of a new chapter, a chance for Chad to heal at last? Or is she the spark that will ignite another storm, one that could leave him even more broken than before? Back at the courthouse, the air feels suffocating. Every whisper dies down, every movement freezes, as Chanel Dupree takes the stand once again. The wooden chair beneath her suddenly feels more like a spotlight, exposing her, pinning her down, making escape impossible. The prosecution wastes no time. Their words come sharp and fast, designed not to seek truth, but to rattle her nerves, to strip away her calm piece by piece. Miss Dupree, the lawyer begins, his tone deceptively smooth, isn't it true that your loyalty to Johnny clouds your judgment? Chanel swallows hard, her voice trembling as she insists she's telling the truth. But her hands grip the edge of the witness stand, betraying the pressure weighing on her. Every question digs deeper, twisting her testimony, painting her hesitation as dishonesty, turning her affection for Johnny into evidence against her. The prosecutor highlights inconsistencies, pointing out the smallest slips of memory, the tiniest cracks in her story, as if each were a hammer strike against her credibility. The jury watches closely. Chanel can feel their eyes like daggers. Beads of sweat trickle down her temple as she fights to hold her composure. Several times, her gaze flickers to Johnny, seeking reassurance, but even his presence cannot shield her from the relentless assault of the cross-examination. Each answer she gives is like stepping onto a tightrope over a chasm. One wrong word could plunge Johnny deeper into the fire. By the time the questioning ends, Chanel hasn't broken, but she hasn't emerged unscathed either. The jury has seen her shake, has heard her stumble. And though she spoke her truth, the seeds of doubt have been planted. Seeds that could prove fatal to Johnny's defense. The trial surges into its final act. The air is thick, heavy with anticipation, as Belle Black rises to deliver her closing statement. The jury leans forward. The entire room quiets, as if Salem itself is holding its breath. Belle begins not with fire, but with calm conviction. Her voice is clear, steady, and filled with a quiet authority that demands attention. She doesn't just argue Johnny's innocence, she paints him as a young man caught in a storm of betrayal, lies, and manipulation. Her words are carefully woven, drawing a picture of Johnny not as a criminal, but as a victim of circumstances beyond his control. She appeals to reason, pointing out the holes in the prosecution's case. She appeals to compassion, reminding the jury that justice is not about vengeance, but about truth. Her tone is measured, but every word carries weight. Each sentence feels like a lifeline thrown across the gulf of doubt, urging the jury to see Johnny as he truly is. Then, the energy shifts. E.J. DiMera rises, and with him, the room seems to ignite. His very presence is commanding, his glare searing as he scans the jury box. When he speaks, his words drip with venom and fury. For E.J., this trial is personal, a wound carved into his very identity. He speaks not like a man seeking justice, but like a man betrayed, a man demanding retribution. His voice rises, booming against the wooden walls, echoing with indignation. He hammers every point that paints Johnny as reckless, guilty, dangerous. Where Belle appeals to logic, E.J. appeals to fear. Where Belle asks for compassion, E.J. demands punishment. The contrast is striking, two advocates, two visions of truth, clashing in a battle for the jury's soul. Belle is the steady voice of reason, calm yet firm. E.J. is the storm, fiery and relentless, threatening to consume everything in his path. The jury sits frozen, torn between reason and rage. And as silence falls after E.J.'s final words, Salem itself seems to tremble. The scales of justice hang in the balance, and no one knows which way they will tip. And then, it happens. The air inside the courtroom feels like it's been sucked away, every breath suspended, every heartbeat amplified. For weeks, suspicion has shifted like shadows on the wall: Johnny, Belle, Gabby, even Kristen herself. But now, the fog begins to lift. The memory resurfaces, the fragments align, and the puzzle pieces, at last, fall into place. Gasps ripple through the room like a wave crashing onto shore. Jurors exchange shocked glances, attorneys freeze mid-note, and spectators clutch their chests as if the weight of the revelation is too heavy to bear. E.J. DiMera sits stunned, his eyes wide, not with triumph but with horror. This is not the victory he imagined. This is not the justice he craved. The truth cuts deeper than the bullet ever did. And then all eyes shift to Kristen DiMera. Her face crumbles, her carefully constructed mask shattering into raw panic. She clutches at the table, her knuckles white, her voice trembling as though she's trying to form words but can't. The terror in her eyes tells the story before she even utters a sound. Because the shooter was not Johnny, not Belle, not Gabby, not any of the names whispered in Salem's corridors these past few weeks. It was Rachel, younger, more fragile, more innocent than anyone could have imagined. The courtroom explodes into chaos. Voices rise, chairs scrape, people cry out in disbelief. For a child to be tied to such an act, it's unthinkable. Yet the truth hangs in the air, undeniable, merciless. Suddenly, every desperate move Kristen made begins to make sense. Her breakdown in court, her attempts to stall the proceedings, her frantic efforts to redirect suspicion onto others. She wasn't trying to save herself. She was trying to shield her daughter from a truth too unbearable to face. But now, with the veil ripped away, Salem has its answer. And it's not closure. It's devastation. Rachel's innocence has been shattered, Kristen's lies have been exposed, and EJ is left staring into a nightmare, a truth more painful than the bullet lodged in his flesh. This is not the end of the trial. This is the moment everything breaks. So, on Tuesday, August 19th in Salem, Marlena and Julie share the weight of family heartbreak. Chad and Kat draw dangerously closer. Chanel fights through brutal cross-examination. Belle and EJ deliver closing arguments that pit reason against rage. And finally, the shooter is revealed. But this revelation does not heal. It does not bring peace. Instead, it tears open wounds deeper than before. Families fracture, loyalties collapse, and a little girl's innocence is consumed by a truth too dark to contain. This is not the resolution of a trial. This is the breaking point, the moment where Salem's foundations crack, and where one devastating secret changes everything forever. Stay tuned, because after this day, Salem will never be the same again.